Hello everyone and welcome back to JDD TV. I'm your host Josh and we are back with another 5 takeaways video of the match we just saw between the Canadian men's national team and Bahrain. There's a lot to break down in this one. I'm going to focus more on the positive sides, even though the result wasn't really there, the performance wasn't there. But this friendly was set up for a reason, and in my eyes, it was a success, so I will get into that. Hopefully you guys are excited, and if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub, and let's get into the takeaways now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so to start off with takeaway 1, we will take a look at Ismail Kone because why not? I asked a lot of you guys in the chat for the watch along, who were you most looking forward to watch? And it was Ismail Kone. It had to be Ismail Kone. This is an opportunity for him to show that he is not only good enough to feature for CF Montreal in Major League Soccer, potentially get a move to Europe, but to start and impact a match at the World Cup. He had an exceptional opening 10 minutes where he toe poked the ball in front of him, set himself up nicely, showed his speed, his composure, his technical ability, blasted it and gave Canada an early 1-0 lead. And then he kind of slowed down a little bit, but so did the entire team. And I'll get into why with my next takeaway. But I'd say, and someone in the chat said it and I thought it was funny. He was a 10 out of 10 for the opening 10 minutes. And then was like a 6-ish out of 10 for the rest of the match. So he was the Gatorade performer of the match. But at the end of the day, it was an okay performance. But I want to touch on him because it just shows that there is a player in there. It shows that he's battling with someone like Jonathan Osorio. And I thought Kone impacted the match a little bit more than Osorio did. I don't see both players featuring in a starting 11 at the World Cup, but I could definitely see one of the two start. I think Kone put a good claim down that this could be him, and if he had players like Davies, Buchanan, Lair, and David in this matchup, he could have really helped impact the match, but at the end of the day, he still was probably the best player on the pitch, and it was a decent performance from him. The second takeaway is going to get into why I didn't think that this worked. Canada against Bahrain, who was a decent opposition, but Canada was always going to have more of the ball, more of the chances, but it didn't really work in this 3-4-2-1 system. John Herman played this system because it gives his players the biggest opportunity to get minutes that will be going to the World Cup. I think out of this 21-man squad, probably 10-ish players will go to the World Cup, which means a lot of players won't. So he wants to focus on the players that are going, which is why this system didn't quite work as well as it did. You notice when he shifted into the 4-4-2 later in the match, it helped so much more. In the first half, Richie Laryea was barely used on the right-hand side. Edwards was used a lot down the left. He looked okay, probably should have set up Kone for his second goal of the match. It was unfortunately quite the miss for Ismail Kone, but you could tell that they just felt a little bit isolated. That compact 4 midfielders just didn't gel together. They weren't creating a lot of opportunities, and Cavallini was very quiet. Once they switch into the 4-4-2 system and they'll have more of the ball, they'll kind of dictate the tempo of the match. They had players going forward. They had overlapping runs coming from both fullbacks, and that's where the second goal came with. ZBG came down the right-hand side, put in a nice ball for Cavallini to no-look, kind of put in the back of the net. I feel like if they would have set up on a 4-4-2 for the majority of the match, they would have done better, but that would have required playing Jacob Schaffelberg or Nelson or Akinola, a few other players for the majority of the match, and some of these players won't be going to the World Cup. I don't think Akinola will be, and to do that system, you wouldn't need to play him. Same could be said for Schaffelberg and Nelson, so that's why he didn't go with that system, and it just looked a little bit awkward. But my third takeaway is the reason that it's not that big of a deal. They set up a friendly. This friendly is not meant to pick up a 5-0 win. It's meant to play an opposition in tough humidity. They played in 73% humidity today. They did okay performance, but they got the environmental feel down. They know what it's going to be like deep in a game when they're sweaty and their hearts are racing. They need to find that equalizer, and they got there. And that's just the whole point, was to get the players minutes who are out of season, which is all the MLS players, but specifically the TFC and Whitecaps players definitely needed these minutes. And then it was to just get used to the environment. So these players did that. They're going to link up now with the European players, and then they're going to go into the friendly against Japan and then the World Cup. So that honestly was the point, was to play in this environment, check, to get minutes for your players. Check. Performance wasn't great. Can't deny that. They didn't get the result they probably wanted. Can't deny that, but it's a friendly. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I expected a little bit more of a performance, but it just wasn't the case, but that's fine. Like I said, they'll mesh with the entire 26-man squad, and they'll be fine. My fourth takeaway is a couple wildcard players. And Liam Fraser's one for me because he was one that left a European side when they're obviously playing games to join up with this Major League Soccer crew. And he came on early. He looked really good, I thought. He was always looking to pick up passes. He played very, very deep, almost settling in with the back 3-4, whatever it was at the time. And I liked a lot of what Frazier did today, but he backed himself. He left Deans to come here to get these minutes, and maybe he can find one of those 25th, 26th man spots. But I thought he looked very good coming on. And finally, to wrap this up with my fifth and final takeaway, is kind of taking a look at ZBG. And I mean, this is a player with CF Montreal who's behind Alistair Johnson. He doesn't get a ton of minutes, but I thought he looked so good. And I thought that final position could be down to ZBG, Joel Waterman, maybe even Edwards or a winger like Brim. So depending on what you want to see, I mean, Joel Waterman could be helpful, especially because we're kind of thin in the back line. I don't think Waterman had the best performance. I'd probably give him like a 6 out of 10. He had a big opportunity with Henry going down to make a claim in that central center back position. I don't think he quite put in the performance he was hoping for, but it was a decent one nonetheless. Edwards, I thought looked okay. I think we would have had more support. Another winger on that side would have made him look a little bit better. He had a beautiful ball, like I mentioned, that would have came in. And then you had ZBG, who can play in a ton of different positions. Right mid, left wing back, right back, left back. It's a utility player for a 25th, 26th man roster, might be pretty useful. And Herbin seems to like him. He's performed pretty well for Canada just about every time he played, similar to like a Liam Frazier. So I just want to give him a shout out because I thought he looked very good once they switched to that 4-4-2 system, playing as a right mid, picking up that assist. It'll be curious how that 25th and 26th man squad kind of wraps up. But all in all, it was the point of the friendly was to play in this environment and obviously get these players minutes. That's what happened. We'll have another friendly coming up, obviously against Japan, and then it's World Cup time. Can't wait to cover it with you guys. Hopefully you guys are excited for it. And if you are, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, friends.